The Great Hall of Nexus Prime was the most beautiful place in the known galaxy. Giant crystal towers rose toward a purple sky. Light passed through them and created rainbows that danced on marble floors. This was where the Galactic Conclave met to decide the fate of billions. 7 species ruled this part of space. They had done so for 12,000 cycles. The Vellani were beings made of living crystal. They sparkled when they moved, and their voices sounded like wind chimes. The Mhorth were massive creatures who lived in gas giant planets. They attended meetings through floating projection spheres. The Crixtal were insect-like beings with fur arms and compound eyes that missed nothing. For other ancient races completed the council. Together, they controlled millions of warships. Their technology was beyond anything younger species could imagine. They had mapped every star and cataloged every world in the Orion arm of the galaxy. Ambassador Jelverath of the Vellani stood at the center of the Great Hall. His crystalline body caught the light and threw it in all directions. He was old, even by his species' standards. He had served on the council for 3,000 cycles. In all that time, nothing had truly surprised him. "The matter before us today is simple," he said. His voice rang through the chamber like a bell. "The Torvath Mining Guild wishes to expand into the Sigma Nebula. The Crixtal claim those resources belong to them. We must decide." The other ambassadors shifted in their seats. This was a small matter. Boring, even. Such disputes happened every day. The younger races always fought over scraps while the council watched and judged. Crixtal Ambassador Vexener clicked his mandibles in annoyance. "The resources are clearly within our territorial boundary. The Torvath are greedy and foolish, perhaps," Jelverath replied. "But we must hear both sides before." He never finished his sentence. Every alarm in Nexus Prime screamed at once. Red lights flashed across the crystal towers. The rainbow patterns on the floor turned blood red. Guards rushed into the chamber with weapons drawn. "What is happening?" the Mhorth ambassador demanded through his projection sphere. A young Vellani officer ran to Jelverath. The officer's crystal form was flickering with stress. "Ambassador, a ship has appeared in the inner system. It came through fold space directly past our outer defenses." Jelverath felt a crack form in his crystal heart. That was impossible. Fold space travel required precise calculations. Ships had to emerge at safe distances from gravity wells. No vessel could simply appear in the inner system. The energy required would tear any ship apart. "Show me," he commanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the Great Hall. Every ambassador turned to look. What they saw made no sense. The ship was massive. It was shaped like a dagger, all sharp angles and dark metal. Strange symbols covered its hull. The design was unlike anything in the Conclave's vast databases. It was brutal and efficient, built for one purpose: war. "Where did it come from?" Vexener asked. His compound eyes studied every detail of the strange vessel. The young officer checked his data pad with shaking hands. "The symbols. We are checking our records now." Cross-referencing with known species, Jelverath already knew the answer. A cold feeling spread through his crystalline body. He had seen those symbols before, long ago. When he was young and still curious about the lesser races, he had seen them on primitive rockets and crude satellites orbiting a small blue world. "Impossible," he whispered. The data pad beeped. The young officer's face went pale. "Ambassador, the ship is human." Silence fell over the Great Hall. It was the kind of silence that comes before a storm. The humans. Every species in the Conclave knew about the humans. They lived on a small planet called Earth in a quiet corner of the galaxy. The Conclave had been watching them for centuries. They had seen the humans discover fire. They had watched them build cities and then burn them down in endless wars. They had observed as humans split the atom and used it to threaten each other. The humans were violent, primitive, divided. They fought over land and resources and ideas. They could not even unite their own world. The Conclave had classified them as a potential threat, but not an immediate one. They were too busy killing each other to ever reach the stars, or so the Council had believed. "This must be a mistake," the Mhorth ambassador said. "The humans do not have fold space technology. They barely have fusion power. Our observers report that they are still fighting among themselves. There's no mistake." The young officer replied. The ship's energy signature matches human nuclear technology, but it has been evolved, advanced in ways we do not understand. Jelverath stared at the holographic image of the human vessel. It hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. 200 of the Conclave's finest warships were already moving to intercept it. He felt no fear. The humans were primitive. One ship, no matter how advanced, could not threaten the might of the Conclave. But something nagged at him. Something about the way the ship had arrived. It had come directly into the inner system, bypassing every defense, every sensor grid, every early warning system. It had appeared exactly where it would cause the most shock, the most fear. This was not an accident. This was a message. A communication signal appeared on the display. The human ship was hailing them. "They wish to speak with us," the young officer said. Jelverath straightened his crystalline form. He had dealt with young species before. They always came begging for scraps, hoping to earn the Conclave's favor. The humans would be no different. They would realize their mistake and apologize for violating Conclave space. "Open the channel," he commanded. A human face appeared on the display. It was a female, by their species standards. Her hair was silver white, pulled back tightly. Her eyes were cold and gray like a winter storm. She wore a black uniform with gold symbols on the shoulders. Behind her, other humans worked at strange machines. When she spoke, her words were translated into 7 languages at once. Her voice was calm, controlled. There was no fear in it. "We are the United Earth ship Prometheus. We come not as supplicants, but as equals. Your observation of our world ends today." The great hall erupted in noise. Ambassadors shouted in outrage. How dare these primitives speak to the Conclave this way? Who did they think they were? Jelverath raised his hand for silence. He looked at the human female on the screen and felt the first hint of uncertainty. Her eyes showed no fear, no hesitation. She looked at the assembled might of the Galactic Conclave the same way a predator looks at prey. "You have made a grave error," Jelverath said. "Destroy them." 200 warships moved to attack. The human female smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We hoped you would say that," she replied. High Admiral Katerina Volkov stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and watched 200 alien warships move toward her. She felt no fear. Fear was a luxury she had given up long ago. The bridge of the Prometheus was a marvel of human engineering. Holographic displays showed every enemy ship in perfect detail. 3,000 crew members worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment for 10 years. Every person on this ship knew what was at stake. "Admiral," her first officer said. He was a tall man named Chen with calm eyes. "Enemy fleet will be in weapons range in for minutes." "Thank you, Commander." Volkov clasped her hands behind her back. "All hands, battle stations. This is what we came here for." The Prometheus had been born in secret. For 50 years, humanity had known they were being watched. Alien satellites orbited Earth, hidden from primitive human sensors. Alien probes drifted through the solar system, recording everything. The world's governments had discovered them by accident during a routine space mission. At first, there was panic. Then came the questions. Who was watching? Why? What did they want? It took 20 years to find the answers. Human scientists captured one of the alien probes and took it apart piece by piece. They learned how it worked. They decoded its communications. They discovered the Galactic Conclave and its long history of watching younger species. What they learned next changed everything. The Conclave did not simply watch. They judged. When a species grew too advanced, too dangerous, the Conclave acted. They called it pruning. Entire civilizations had been wiped out because they showed too much potential, too much ambition, too much strength. Humanity was scheduled for pruning within 10 years. The nations of Earth had always been divided. They fought over borders and resources and beliefs. But when they learned the truth, something changed. For the first time in human history, every nation came together with a single purpose: survival. The United Earth government was formed in secret. Resources flowed into hidden projects. The brightest minds worked on stolen alien technology. Factories in the asteroid belt built ships that the watching aliens never saw. The Prometheus was the first, but it would not be the last. "Enemy ships are launching fighters," Commander Chen reported. I count over 5,000 small craft, Volkov nodded. The alien fleet was impressive. Their ships were elegant and beautiful, covered in strange crystals and glowing lights. They moved with perfect formation, like a dance. The Conclave had ruled space for 12,000 years. They had forgotten what it meant to fight for survival. That was their weakness. Begin evasive pattern Omega, Volkov commanded. Weapons free on my mark. The Prometheus began to move. It accelerated faster than any ship the aliens had ever seen. Human engineers had pushed physics to its limits. They had learned from every war in human history. Every battle, every defeat, each one had taught them something new. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of energy streaked across space. Missiles launched in swarms. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. None of it touched the Prometheus. The human ship danced through the barrage like a leaf in the wind. It twisted and turned in ways that should have torn it apart. The alien gunners could not track it. Their targeting systems had never faced anything so fast, so unpredictable. Mark, Volkov said quietly. The Prometheus opened fire. Human weapons were different from alien weapons. The Conclave used energy beams and guided missiles, elegant, clean, predictable. Humans used something else entirely. Kinetic rounds tore through space at incredible speeds. But these were not ordinary projectiles. They folded through space itself, appearing inside enemy shields like ghosts. Alien ships that had never been breached suddenly found holes in their hulls. Directed energy weapons carved through metal like knives through paper. Human scientists had studied every weakness in alien armor. They had designed weapons specifically to exploit those weaknesses. But it was the missiles that truly terrified the enemy. Human missiles did not fly in straight lines. They thought for themselves. They adapted. They worked together like a pack of wolves hunting prey. When one was destroyed, the others learned from its death and changed their approach. In 11 minutes, 47 Conclave warships were disabled or destroyed. The alien fleet scattered in confusion. Their perfect formation broke apart. Ships fled in all directions. Commanders shouted contradicting orders. No one knew what to do. They had never faced an enemy like this. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Volkov watched the chaos with cold satisfaction. "Cease fire," she ordered. Commander Chen looked at her in surprise. "Admiral, we have the advantage. We could destroy the entire fleet." "We could," Volkov agreed. "But that is not why we are here. We came to send a message, not start a war." "Not yet." She turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel to the Conclave flagship. Make sure every ship in this system can hear." The channel opened. Volkov looked into the camera and spoke. "This demonstration is over. We have disabled 47 of your ships while taking only minor damage. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, but we chose not to. Remember that. We came here to talk, not to conquer. But make no mistake, if you force us to fight, we will win." She paused to let her words sink in. "For centuries, you have watched our world. You have seen our wars and our struggles. You thought this made us weak. You were wrong. Every war taught us. Every struggle made us stronger. You see chaos. We see evolution. You see division. We see competition that drives us to improve." In the great hall of Nexus Prime, every ambassador watched in stunned silence. Their finest ships had been defeated in minutes. Their pride had been shattered. And now this human female was lecturing them like they were children. Gelverath felt cracks spreading through his crystalline body. This could not be happening. The humans were primitive. They were scheduled for pruning. They should be begging for mercy, not delivering ultimatums. "You have 1 hour to respond." Admiral Volkov continued. "We suggest you use that time wisely. The age of the Conclave's unchallenged rule is over. Humanity has arrived, and we are not going away." The channel closed. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Vexener of the Crystal spoke. His voice was quiet, his compound eyes fixed on the holographic image of the human ship. "I have studied their history," he said. "Every time they have been threatened with extinction, they have found a way to survive. They have faced ice ages, plagues, and wars that killed millions. Each time, they came back stronger." He turned to look at Gelverath. "I do not think we can beat them. I think we need to learn how to live with them." Gelverath said nothing. For the first time in 3,000 years, He did not know what to do. The Prometheus hung in space, waiting, and across the galaxy, everything was about to change. The hour passed slowly in the great hall of Nexus Prime. Ambassadors argued and shouted. Some demanded immediate attack with the full might of the Conclave fleet. Others counseled caution. A few sat in silence, still trying to understand what they had witnessed. Jelvarath stood apart from the chaos. He stared at the holographic display showing the human ship. It had not moved since the battle ended. It simply waited, like a hunter patient for its prey to make the next move. "We must attack." The Mhorth ambassador boomed through his projection sphere. "Summon every ship in the sector. Crush these insects before they spread." "And how many ships will we lose?" Vexener replied. His calm voice cut through the noise. "That one vessel destroyed 47 of our warships in 11 minutes. Our pilots could not hit it. Our shields could not stop its weapons. How many more must die before we accept the truth?" "What truth?" Jelvarath asked quietly. Vexener turned his compound eyes to the crystalline ambassador. "That we have grown weak. We have ruled unchallenged for so long that we have forgotten how to fight. The humans have not. They have been fighting their entire existence. War is in their blood." Before anyone could respond, a new alarm sounded. Every display in the great hall flickered and changed. The image of the Prometheus was replaced by a detailed star map of the solar system. Humans called home. "What is this?" Jelvarath demanded. "The humans are transmitting data," a technician reported. "They are showing us everything." The ambassadors watched in growing horror as human history unfolded before them. They saw the first wars fought with sticks and stones. They saw empires rise and fall. They saw weapons evolve from swords to guns to bombs that could crack the planet itself. But that was not the worst part. The transmission showed the last 50 years. It showed humans discovering the alien satellites that watched them. It showed secret meetings between world leaders. It showed the formation of a unified government hidden from alien eyes. It showed factories in the asteroid belt, building ships in the darkness between planets. The Prometheus was not alone. By the ancient stars, Vexener whispered. The display showed a fleet. 23 ships, each one as large and deadly as the Prometheus. They waited in the shadows of Jupiter's moons, hidden from conclave sensors. They were armed. They were ready. And they were waiting for a signal. They built an entire fleet without us knowing. Jelvarath said. His voice was hollow. "Our observers saw nothing. How is this possible?" The transmission answered his question. It showed how humans had studied the alien probes, learned their weaknesses, and created blind spots. It showed how humans had used their own divisions as camouflage, while the Conclave watched humanity's surface wars and political conflicts. The real work happened underground and in space. The humans had used the Conclave's arrogance against them. Admiral Volkov's face appeared on the display once more. She stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, calm and controlled. Behind her, displays showed the battle damage. A few scorch marks on the hull. "Nothing more. You have seen our fleet," she said. 23 ships. Each one carries weapons that your defenses cannot stop. Each one has a crew trained to fight against impossible odds. We built them in secret because we had no choice. You gave us no choice. She stepped closer to the camera. Her gray eyes seemed to look directly at each ambassador in turn. "We know about the pruning. We decoded your communications decades ago. We know that you have destroyed species after species because they grew too strong. We know that humanity was next on your list." The ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. The pruning was not spoken of openly. It was a necessary evil, a way to maintain order in the galaxy. Young species were dangerous. They upset the balance of power. It was better to eliminate them before they became a threat. But now one of those species had become a threat anyway. "We do not want war," Volkov continued. "War is wasteful and destructive. But we will not allow ourselves to be destroyed simply because we are young, simply because we are different, simply because we refuse to bow to your authority." She gestured to someone off-screen. The display changed again, showing new data. "This is our proposal. We will share our technology with the Conclave, our fold space drives, our weapons, our shields. In exchange, you will recognize humanity as an equal power. No more watching, no more judging, No more pruning. Zhelvarath found his voice. And if we refuse? Volkov's expression did not change. Then we will fight. And we will win. Not today. Perhaps not tomorrow. But eventually. Because that is what humans do. We survive. We adapt. We overcome. Every time you strike at us, we will learn from it and come back stronger. Can your conclave say the same? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The ambassadors looked at each other. For 12,000 years, they had been the most powerful force in this part of the galaxy. They had never been challenged, never been questioned, never been afraid. Now they were all three. Vexener was the first to step forward. I believe we should listen to them, he said. The Crystal have studied warfare for 10,000 years. We know a superior enemy when we see one. These humans are not like the species we have pruned before. They are something new, something dangerous, but perhaps something useful. The Mhoreth ambassadors scoffed. They are savages. Savages who built fold space drives from stolen probe parts, Vexener replied. Savages who created weapons that bypass our shields. Savages who hid an entire fleet from our sensors. If they are savages, then they are the most clever savages we have ever encountered. He turned to face the other ambassadors. Think carefully before you vote for war. These humans have been fighting since they first walked to pride on their little world. They have fought disease, famine, predators, and each other. They have survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. They have split atoms and walked on their moon. And now they stand before us, offering peace instead of destruction. He clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Perhaps the question is not whether we can defeat them. Perhaps the question is whether we can afford to try. The great hall fell silent. Every ambassador considered Vexener's words. They looked at the display showing the human fleet hidden among Jupiter's moons. 23 ships, each one a weapon of incredible power. And behind those ships, an entire planet full of beings who had spent their existence learning how to survive. Zhelvarath felt the weight of 12,000 years pressing down on him. The Conclave had built an empire on the bodies of young species. They had pruned any civilization that showed too much promise. It had worked for millennia. But now, for the first time, the prey had become the predator. We need more time, he said finally. We cannot make this decision in an hour. On the display, Admiral Volkov nodded slowly. You have until tomorrow. Use the time wisely. The transmission ended. The Great Hall erupted in argument once more. But something had changed. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Conclave was not in control, and everyone in that room knew it. Night fell on Nexus Prime. The twin moons rose over the crystal towers, casting silver light across the ancient city. But no one slept. In every corner of the Great Hall, ambassadors whispered and argued and planned. Zhelvarath walked alone through the empty gardens outside the hall. His crystalline feet made soft sounds on the stone paths. He needed to think. He needed to understand. For 3,000 years, he had served the Conclave. He had watched species rise and fall. He had voted for pruning without hesitation. It was necessary, he had told himself. Young species were dangerous. They upset the balance. They caused chaos. But now he wondered if they had been wrong all along. A message arrived on his personal communicator. It was from the human ship. Admiral Volkov was requesting a private meeting. Common sense told him to refuse. She was the enemy. She had humiliated the Conclave in front of the entire galaxy. Meeting with her would show weakness. But Zhelvarath was old enough to know that pride was a luxury. He needed answers. He needed to understand these humans if he was going to deal with them. He accepted the request. 1 hour later, a small shuttle landed in the garden. Admiral Volkov stepped out alone. She wore the same black uniform, but she had removed her weapons. A gesture of peace, perhaps, or confidence. They walked together through the crystal garden. Neither spoke at first. The silence was heavy with unasked questions. Finally, Zhelvarath broke the silence. How? He asked simply. Volkov understood. You want to know how we built the Prometheus? How we developed fold space technology? How we hid an entire fleet from your sensors? Yes. She stopped beside a fountain of liquid light. Her gray eyes reflected the glow. Your observers watched us for centuries. They saw everything. Our wars, Our conflicts, our failures. What did they report? Gelverath considered the question. They reported that humanity was divided, that you fought constantly among yourselves, that you wasted resources on weapons instead of progress. They concluded that you would destroy yourselves before you ever reached the stars. And they were almost right, Volkov admitted. We came close to destruction many times. Nuclear war, climate disaster, biological weapons. We are a violent species. We make no apology for that. She turned to face him, but your observers made a mistake. They saw our violence as weakness. They did not understand that conflict is how we grow. Every war teaches us something. Every disaster makes us stronger. Every failure pushes us to try harder. She began walking again. Gelverath followed. When we discovered your satellites, we were terrified. An alien civilization had been watching us. We did not know if you were friends or enemies. We did not know what you wanted. So we prepared for the worst. You united, Gelverath said. Double quotes, yes. For the first time in our history, every nation came together. Not because we learned to love each other. We still disagreed about politics and religion and economics. But we agreed on one thing, survival. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Your observers kept watching. They saw our surface wars and our political conflicts. They thought we were the same as always. But underground and in space, we were working together, building, learning, preparing, the pruning. Gelverath said quietly, you learned about the pruning. We decoded your communications. We read your history. We learned what happened to species that grew too strong. And we understood that we had two choices, die quietly or fight back. She stopped and looked up at the crystal towers of Nexus Prime. Your conclave has ruled for 12,000 years. You have technology we cannot match, ships beyond counting, resources from 1,000,000 worlds. By all logic, we should have surrendered. We should have begged for mercy and hoped you would let us live. Her voice hardened. But humans do not surrender. We have faced extinction before. Ice ages that killed most of our population. Plagues that wiped out entire civilizations. Asteroids that destroyed 90% of life on our planet. Each time, we survived. Each time, we came back stronger. She turned to face Gelverath directly. You want to know how we built the Prometheus? We built it with the same stubbornness that helped us survive every disaster in our history. We built it with the knowledge gained from 10,000 years of warfare. We built it with the unity that only comes when a species faces extinction. Gelverath felt something he had not felt in centuries. Respect. This human female was not boasting. She was simply stating facts. Her species had faced impossible odds and found a way to win. The Conclave will not simply accept this, he said. Many of my colleagues will vote for war. They cannot accept that a young species has challenged our authority. I know, Volkov replied. And if they choose war, we will fight. But I hope they choose differently. She pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic display appeared between them. There is something else. Something we discovered when we decoded your communications. Signals from beyond the galaxy. From the void between stars. Gelverath stared at the display. It showed wave patterns he did not recognize. Strange frequencies that seemed almost alive. What is this? He asked. We do not know. But we have been tracking these signals for 20 years. They are getting closer. Something is out there, Ambassador. Something that does not come from any known species. Something that is moving toward this part of the galaxy. Volkov closed the display. The Conclave has grown comfortable. You have ruled unchallenged for so long that you have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. You prune young species because you fear them. But perhaps you should be raising them instead. Training them. Preparing them. She looked up at the stars. Whatever is coming. It will not care about your treaties or your borders or your 12,000 years of history. It will not negotiate. It will not surrender. And when it arrives, you will need allies who know how to fight. She met Gelverath's eyes. You will need humans. The ambassador stood in silence for a long moment. He had lived for thousands of years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had believed that the Conclave was eternal, unchangeable, perfect. But now a human stood before him, offering a different future. A future where young species were partners instead of threats. A future where the galaxy prepared for dangers yet unknown. I cannot promise anything. He said finally. The council will make its own decision. Volkov nodded. I understand. But consider this, Ambassador. For 12,000 years, you have pruned every species that showed potential. How many allies have you destroyed? How many warriors? How many scientists and builders and dreamers? When the darkness comes, will your conclave stand alone? She turned and walked back toward her shuttle. Think about it, she called over her shoulder. You have until tomorrow. Jelvrath watched her go. The shuttle rose into the night sky and disappeared among the stars. For the first time in 3,000 years, he did not know what the future held. But he knew one thing for certain. The galactic conclave would never be the same. The sun rose over Nexus Prime. Golden light streamed through the crystal towers and filled the great hall with warmth. But the mood inside was anything but warm. The 7 ambassadors had argued through the night. Voices had been raised. Threats had been made. Alliances that had lasted millennia were strained to breaking point. Now they gathered one final time to make their decision. Jelvrath stood at the center of the hall. He had not slept. He had spent the night thinking about everything Admiral Volkov had said. About the pruning. About the signals from the void. About the future. We must vote, he announced. His crystalline voice echoed through the chamber. The question before us is simple. Do we accept the human proposal or do we go to war? The Mhorth ambassador spoke first. His projection sphere crackled with anger. War, these creatures have insulted us. They have destroyed our ships. They must be punished. Punishment will cost us dearly, Vexener replied. His calm voice was a sharp contrast to the Mhorth's rage. Our analysts have studied the battle. They estimate that defeating the human fleet would require at least 60% of our total military force. Even then, victory is not certain. Then we summon every ship. The Mhorth demanded. We gather our full strength and leave our borders undefended? Another ambassador asked. We have other enemies, other threats. If we commit everything to destroying the humans, we leave ourselves vulnerable. The argument continued. Jelvrath listened in silence. He thought about his meeting with Admiral Volkov. He thought about the signals from the void. He thought about 12,000 years of history. The Conclave had built an empire by eliminating threats. They had pruned species after species, telling themselves it was necessary for peace and stability. But what had they truly accomplished? They had created a galaxy of fear. Every young species lived in terror of being noticed. Every civilization hid its potential, hoping to avoid destruction, and in the process, the Conclave had grown weak. They had forgotten how to adapt, how to struggle, how to survive. The humans had not forgotten. The humans had been forged by struggle. Every generation faced new challenges and found ways to overcome them. They were violent and chaotic and unpredictable, but they were also strong. Enough, Jelvrath said quietly. The hall fell silent. Every eye turned to the Villani ambassador. I have served this council for 3,000 years, he said. I have voted for pruning more times than I can count. I believed it was necessary. I believed we were protecting the galaxy from chaos and destruction. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But last night, I spoke with Admiral Volkov. She showed me something that changed my mind. Signals from beyond our galaxy. Something unknown is coming. Something that does not care about our treaties or our borders or our ancient traditions. He looked at each ambassador in turn. When that threat arrives, what will we do? We have spent 12,000 years destroying every species that showed strength. We have eliminated every potential ally. We have ensured that when true danger comes, we will face it alone. The Mhorth ambassador sputtered in outrage. You would have us surrender to these primitives? I would have us adapt, Jelvrath replied. As the humans adapt, as every successful species adapts, the universe is changing. We can change with it or we can be swept away. Vexener stepped forward. I agree with Ambassador Jelvrath. The Crystal have studied thousands of species. We have never encountered anything like humanity. They are not primitives. They are survivors. And survivors make the best allies. One by one, the other ambassadors spoke. Some supported war. Some supported peace. The vote was going to be close. Finally, it was time to decide. Jelvrath called for the vote. Each ambassador registered their choice. The results appeared on the central display. for peace. 3 for war. The great hall erupted in noise. Some cheered, others shouted in anger. But the decision was made. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Conclave had chosen to welcome a young species instead of destroying it. A communication channel opened. Admiral Volkov's face appeared on the display. "We have reached a decision," Zhelvrath announced. "The Conclave votes to accept your proposal. We offer humanity full membership in our alliance." There was a moment of silence. Then Volkov shook her head. "I am afraid we must decline." The hall went quiet. Every ambassador stared at the display in shock. "Membership implies that we accept your authority," Volkov explained. "We do not. The Conclave has ruled through fear for 12,000 years. You have destroyed countless species. You have crushed potential and ambition wherever you found it. We will not become part of that system." Zhelvrath felt anger rising in his crystalline heart. "Then what do you want?" "Partnership," Volkov replied. "Equal partnership. Not as subjects, but as allies. We will share our technology. We will work together to face the threat from the void. But we will not bow to the Conclave. We will not follow your rules. And we will not allow you to prune any more species." The Mhorth ambassador laughed bitterly. "You are in no position to make demands. Are we not?" Volkov's gray eyes seemed to pierce through the display. "Our fleet is still waiting. Our weapons are still ready. And now that your council has voted for peace, you cannot easily change your decision without appearing weak." She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We are offering you a better future. A galaxy where young species are nurtured instead of destroyed. Where strength is valued instead of feared. Where the Conclave works alongside new civilizations instead of above them." She leaned forward. "The old way is dying, Ambassador. The question is whether you will die with it or help build something new." The Great Hall was silent. Every ambassador considered her words. They thought about the signals from the void. They thought about the human fleet. They thought about 12,000 years of history and what it had truly accomplished. Zhelvrath spoke first. "What exactly did your probes detect? What is coming from the void?" Volkov's expression became serious. "We do not know. But whatever it is large. It is powerful. And it is heading this way. Our estimates suggest we have 50 to 100 years before it arrives." She stood straight. Her uniform perfect, her eyes steady. 50 years. That is how long we have to prepare. To build new ships. To develop new weapons. To train new warriors. We cannot do it alone. Neither can you. Together, we might have a chance. Vexener clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "She speaks wisely. The Crystal accept this proposal." One by one, other ambassadors added their agreement. Even the Mhorth, grudgingly, saw the logic. The threat from the void changed everything. Old rivalries meant nothing if the galaxy itself was in danger. Zhelvrath watched his fellow ambassadors accept the new reality. The Conclave's pride had been shattered. Their ancient traditions had been challenged. But perhaps that was not a bad thing. "Very well," he said finally. "We accept your terms. Equal partnership. No more pruning. A new alliance to face whatever comes." Admiral Volkov nodded. "Then we have an agreement." The Prometheus began moving toward Nexus Prime, not as an enemy, but as an ally. Behind it, the hidden human fleet emerged from the shadows of Jupiter's moons and began the long journey to join their flagship. And across the galaxy, species who had lived in fear for millennia began to hope. The age of the Conclave was ending. The age of humanity had begun, but the true test was still coming. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient and terrible was stirring. It had consumed civilizations beyond counting. It had crossed voids that should have been impossible, and now it was coming for the Orion Arm. The humans were ready. They had been preparing for struggle their entire existence. It was time to show the universe what they could do.